Welcome to another production by the Millennial Mechanical Therapist. Your hosts, Dr. Joseph Gravino and Dr. Clay Case, are two physical therapists trying to treat health issues mechanically. Listen further for patient cases, guest videos, advantages and disadvantages of the way they practice, and much more. Thanks for tuning in today. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and at our website. We hope that you learn a lot from watching this video and you come back for more.
Hi everybody, I'm the Millennial Mechanical Therapist. Thanks for joining us again today on this journey of mechanical therapy. So, today is part 2 of bilateral extremity symptoms. Last time we spoke upon a female patient who had bilateral anterior knee pain, which all resolved through just looking at end range movements of her lumbar spine. Today we're going to have kind of a different case where we have an older gentleman in his early 70s who has bilateral lateral shoulder pain, which was going on for about less than 6 months, insidious onset. I believe there was either the left or the right was worse than the other. If you look at the sheet attached to his history sheet attached to this video, then you'll see which one's better or not. I forget off the top of my head. So to get into the case, he came in with, not too painful, but a loss of range of motion and elevation for both upper extremities, one extremity worse. Nothing that really set it off besides continually using it into elevation, and I believe putting on clothes. If he was donning and doffing clothes quite frequently throughout his day, his shoulders would hurt worse. Nothing really sounded like spine. He had no issues with sitting, no issues with turning his neck, no issues with driving. Didn't seem like he had any types of paresthesia. He denied paresthesia, headaches, but he also denied things like clicking, locking, popping, a feeling of weakness. He just said he just, out of nowhere, just progressively started losing upper elevation of both upper extremities. So as we go into the objective form, the objective part of the form and of our evaluation, he had a loss of cervical flexion, I believe, a significant loss of abduction and flexion of both upper extremities, and I think rotation was full in range of motion but painful, and I think internal rotation was more painful than external rotation. He also had pain with resisted external rotation and horizontal adduction. I do it from the base position, like right here. So that was our findings. And because he had the loss of flexion in his cervical spine, I went through some postural correction, which actually made him worse. So now I'm sitting here and I'm really, history's not really giving me anything that says spine. He really just has a loss of flexion, but postural correction makes him worse. I chased it because bilateral extremity symptoms, I'm thinking spine. My mind is thinking spine. Well, I burned him and myself. We probably did 50 to 60 cervical flexions with and without overpressure. Did nothing to him. Did nothing to his symptoms. Did nothing mechanically. He just got annoyed that I was spending a crap ton of time looking at his neck. So, trying not to lose him, I said, let's pay attention to your neck later. Let's start looking a little bit more at your shoulders. And thinking back in my mind that he still has a loss of flexion, but man, flexion, if there was something going on in his neck, should have exposed it, regardless of what it was. Even if it was a flexion responder, at least it should have made it somewhat better, or had a decrease, no better, increase, no worse, nothing. So I for some reason, picked the worst shoulder and went with it. And within a couple repetitions of active shoulder extension, he was able to elevate his arm significantly higher with less pain. And I believe external rotation became painless. Adduction was still painful. So we did probably 30 or 40 extensions and then added some extension internal rotation, and he almost had full upper extremity elevation before he left from the ischial valve, and he was in. So I was thinking to myself, man, this is awesome. I found an extension/internal rotation responder of his shoulder. Maybe the neck is still at play with the other side. We were running out of time, so I told him to go home, practice everything, do them all X amount of times. and we'll talk the next day. So he comes in the next day, and he's like, listen, my shoulder's phenomenal. Both shoulders. I said, well, what have you been doing for the other shoulder? He goes, I just started doing the same exercise. I figured it would help, and it has. And the guy has full and free range of motion of both upper extremities. It was insane. Which one was awesome, because obviously I got through to him enough and educated him enough on this that he felt free upon himself to start applying the same principles to the other shoulder. I love when patients start doing that, when they're thinking through their own problems, because that's truly what we need to have them do. We need to give them the power to think through their own problems, and I loved it. And it was awesome. The only thing was, I think he still had pain both arms with resisted abduction. So I saw him a week later, and pain-free, was able to take on and off his clothes, out an issue, was able to do anything, above 90 degrees, up anything requiring upper extremity elevation activities, no issues. And he was amazed, and quite frankly, I was amazed. For a long time, it was really until he came along, if you had bilateral extremity symptoms, I was dead set it was the spine. No way did I think you would have bilateral derangements of the shoulder, which both responded to the exact same reductive movements. It was nuts. It was insane. And who knows what he did? Who knows what he does frequently that would cause a direction of preference to be extension, a direction of vulnerability to be forward flexion or abduction. But it doesn't matter. I mean, the guy was, within 3 visits, was happy and pain-free. And I burned myself on chasing his spine and not listening to him. Was lucky enough that he listened to himself and had a very easy responding initial shoulder. So I guess with a lot of luck and the right patient, I went pretty far. So good example of how chasing what you perceive to be as the key or what you think is right and not really listening to the patient and exploring more things is really what burned me on this. And that's a good lesson for us all. And so now you got bilateral extremity symptoms, and if I'm not getting what I want from the spine, I may just deviate a little bit quicker than I once was. Don't know if the true Mackenzieites will like what I say there, but I think as long as we're listening to our patients, and as long as you're getting results, or getting a mechanical and symptomatic result, then it doesn't matter. So, thank you for sticking with the journey, my friends. Move your patients early, move them often, and move them to end range, because that's where the magic happens. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Look forward to hearing from you and seeing you next time. Have a good one, friends. Take care.